Happy Tuesday, everyone. This is Ashley, and I am live here on the G&M Free from Fear group. And today I wanted to talk about the second biological law. So Dr. Hammer, the founder of G&M, he put together 5 biological laws that he discovered. And hi, Sonia. And so last week I talked about the first biological law, and so for the next few Tuesdays I'm going to go over each biological law individually. And so today I'll be talking about the second biological law, which is the law of 2 phases. So basically there is a conflict phase and a healing phase, to put it simply. And I'll go over some details as we proceed with the video. So basically there is a daytime and nighttime phase. So normally when you haven't experienced a conflict or you're not in healing phase, it's kind of like the sine wave, daytime phase, nighttime phase. So that's like your normal rhythm. And during the day you're in sympathetic mode, which is fight or flight. And then at night you're in parasympathetic or rest or digest mode. And so that is just normal. There's nothing going on. There's no conflict. There's no healing phase. So that's just normal day and night phase. You're just kind of going up and down. Everything's good. And then when you experience a DHS, which is the Dirk-Hammer syndrome, or the shocking event, which could be a death, a comment, a car accident, separating from your partner. It could be literally anything that you're not expecting, so that's shocking to you, and that is over your emotional threshold. So, okay, boom, you experience a shocking event or a DHS. And so that starts this cascade of things in your brain, in your psyche, and then at whatever organ your brain is correlating with the event with. So basically, when you experience this shocking event, your brain sends your body a message saying, okay, we're not safe right now. We're going to go into sympathetic mode or fight or flight mode. And usually in conflict active mode, you have a hard time sleeping. So you're either waking up constantly throughout the night, have a hard time falling asleep, or if you normally sleep fairly well, you wake up like 2-3 a.m. or like the early morning hours. And your brain is constantly trying to figure out how to resolve this shocking event. And most of us, especially those of us who are new to German New Medicine, we don't necessarily know, like, oh, why am I not sleeping well tonight? And like, I have been in the past. And so it is really good to just start to notice, like, I wonder what shocking thing happened, like what was over my emotional threshold, or like what did I experience yesterday or in the past few days, or recently, that could have maybe brought me to this conflict active mode from some kind of shocking event in your life. So like bringing more awareness to that, whether that's just through observation awareness, journaling about it, and kind of just start to notice, so that when you are restless, your brain is trying to increase the amount of time, waking time, so that you can try and figure out how to solve the problem. Basically, your brain is trying to help you, but it can be frustrating when you're not sleeping well. You feel like your brain is kind of on overdrive, and you feel restless, and usually also you don't have a great appetite and can feel kind of anxious or nervous. And that's also part of like the hormones and all the adrenaline and just all of the processes going on in your body that are trying to get you to, okay, let's resolve the conflict. But like I said, most of us aren't necessarily aware of that going on, so we're just frustrated, like, oh, I can't sleep, and I don't know what's going on, and then we kind of beat ourselves up about that, which doesn't help. And so when we're in this conflict active mode, like I said, you normally have a loss of appetite, And this is for every conflict. So no matter if it's, you know, a sore throat or cancer or, you know, some kind of skin rash or asthma, like literally every single conflict, there's 2 phases. You have the conflict active mode and then the healing phase. So no matter what it is, when you're first in that conflict mode, these are the things that tend to happen. And so also, it's also called the cold phase because actually all of the blood from your extremities is going towards your vital organs, and whatever organs need that blood supply. And so it's also called the cold phase. So I actually used to always be perpetually cold, and for those people who know me now, probably are like, what? Because I'm literally always warm now, like always kind of feel like I'm overheating. And so I think I used to be in conflict active mode all the time with all the stuff I was dealing with my family and just life. And I mean, I had no idea, but my hands were always cold, like 24/7. No matter what I did, it was hard for me to warm up. And so that's kind of interesting. You know, this conflict mode is also called the cold phase. And then we move into the healing phase. And so you can have, sorry, let me rewind a second. Okay, well, I'll just go through it and then I'll go back through more details. So you have the DHS, or the shocking event, then you have the conflict active mode, and then you have healed or moved through the conflict, you've resolved the conflict, and then you go into the healing phase. So there's actually 2 parts to the healing phase. The first part of the healing phase is called healing phase A, and during that phase you have swelling, you have excessive fatigue, you have good appetite, and usually just feel like really tired. So it's actually interesting is last night I slept 16 hours, which is a lot. Yeah, I was very tired. I went to bed at like 8:30, which is very abnormal for me, and I slept all the way till like 12:30, and I woke up like once in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. And so I was in healing phase, and I'm actually not sure what healing phase yet, or with what conflict, so that will be interesting for me to figure out. So usually, right, you're more hungry, you're just tired, your heart rate is a little slower, and this is also called the warm phase because you have blood return to your extremities, and you're kind of just, you're more relaxed. And this is also called parasympathetic mode, or the rest and digest. And so your body is in this mode of feeling safe, feeling calm, and you've moved through the conflict, whatever it was. And then you have what is called the healing crisis. So in this healing crisis, you actually go back into the sympathetic or fight or flight mode for a short time to expel all the swelling and edema and all the extra fluid that your body has built up for you during the healing phase. And so you kind of go back into that mode for like a hot second, and then you go into healing phase B, or the second part of the healing, which is more of the fatigue, the resting, good appetite, and it's usually a shorter phase than the healing phase A, because you've released the swelling and the edema and all the extra fluid. And then you go back into the normal rhythm, like I was talking about at the beginning, the normal daytime, nighttime phase, sympathetic during the day, parasympathetic at night, and then, you go back to your life. And this is obviously like a simplified version, because most of us, especially in this modern world, are kind of in conflict active mode, healing mode, kind of all the time, with different conflicts, with different different parts of the healing phase, with different organs in our body, and we're kind of it's actually rare to be in the normal rhythm and then go, you know, into like only one conflict and then the healing phase. And so ideally we want to be in normal rhythm and not experience perpetual conflicts or, you know, the symptom cycles that most of us deal with in some way or another. And so this is a simplified version. So I'm going to go back into the conflict active mode. So also during the conflict active mode, we can experience what's called a hanging conflict. So that means that we stay in this conflict active mode or this fight or flight mode for an extended period of time. And during this time, we're not going to have symptoms, but we're going to be restless, anxious, have a hard time sleeping, lower appetite, increased heart rate, and feel cold. And those are, you can experience all or some of those things or some kind of combination. But basically, you're in this conflict phase for an extended amount of time. It could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, it could be years. It just depends. So, and with some of these conflicts, it's actually important to downgrade or like lessen the conflict mode that you're in before healing it, because symptoms can be very painful. I'll go into that with another video because there's a plethora of conflicts that you want to do that with. But anyway, so you have this hanging conflict. So you've experienced this shocking event and you haven't worked through it, you haven't healed it, you're still in it. And most of us, when we're in this, we have no idea because there's no symptoms. And so you're just like, okay, my body's fine, and maybe you already don't sleep well, or maybe you're already kind of anxious, you know, or maybe just like we're not as tuned into our bodies as we want to be, or that we were in the past, or, you know, any of those things. And so you can be in conflict active mode for a while, and then once you resolve the conflict or heal the conflict, then you can go into the healing phase, the healing crisis, the second healing phase. So you can do that. It's just that you're in conflict active mode for a longer time period. And then during this healing phase, you can also have what's called a hanging healing, which means that you kind of experience like conflict relapses or have these recurring symptoms. And so it's kind of like when you have a scab, so you get a cut, or you know, fall off your bike, or yeah, I did that not that long ago. So own life example. But then you keep reopening the scab. So it's like basically you don't give your body enough time to fully heal and work through those healing phases. And so you keep experiencing the same conflicts over and over again, and you never fully heal them. And then you develop what are called tracks. So it's kind of like a train track. And during the moment of this shocking event, so whether it is an argument when you were little and you were, you know, eating a sandwich and your parents come in fighting and it's very off-putting and like makes you feel anxious, and you know, you're kind of scared, and maybe when you were a young child something like that happens, your brain actually takes a picture essentially, or a snapshot of everything that's going on. So literally the environment that you're in, maybe the music that's on, or a sound, whether it's a fan sound or a loud airplane or anything like that. Also what you're eating, what you're wearing, if there's any pets or animals, literally everything. So it's like basically your brain is like, okay, taking a mental picture of everything going on in the environment. So then when you experience any one of those other things that's not related to the argument, so whether it's, you know, eating the sandwich, so then you can go into that same conflict active mode and experience those symptoms when you're eating a sandwich, or when you encounter your cat next time, or another cat. or any of those other things that were in your environment when this shocking event happens. And that's actually how you develop allergies. So GNM doesn't really define them as allergies, they're just tracks, and it's more related to the actual symptoms that you're experiencing, not the allergen. So not the gluten or the bread or the cat or the noise. Yeah, it develops these tracks. So for me, since I dealt with acne for a very long time, for years, since I was 12, I had very deep tracks, in a sense, of I had a lot of things that my brain had taken multiple pictures, multiple snapshots of throughout my life, of these shocking events and these things. And so when I would experience any one of those things, whether it was a specific food or even my menstrual cycle, I would experience acne very easily. Like the smallest thing could set off this conflict active mode and healing and then symptoms. And so what's really interesting for me now is to be aware of those things. And even I think in a previous video I talked about this, but I'm a hot yoga teacher, and so I take a lot of yoga, or was before this lockdown period. And I noticed one time in particular, we were doing this twisting, like supine twist on the floor. So, the teacher is, telling us which way to twist. Well, the person next to me went the other way than I did. And so I actually developed a few pimples on the back of my arm in the exact location that I surprisingly touched this other person's sweaty body. And because I have developed like those tracks and those patterns and habits for me are very just well worn and very deep and very like deep programming in a sense, it's very easy for me to reactivate that conflict, and it takes very subtle things for me to do it. And so what's interesting for me now is noticing those things, and in that moment just letting it be okay. Like, oh no, I touched somebody's sweaty body, it's gonna be okay. And just kind of like moving through that in the moment and just noticing that, like, even if I do experience a few pimples, like, it's gonna be okay. And okay, there's a few more things I wanted to talk about. Oh yes, so one of the examples that I wanted to talk about from my own life is last summer I had experienced this rash from healing another conflict related to a friend, and I was on a camping trip with this full body rash. It was very itchy, painful, hard time sleeping, and it was kind of ugly. And I was like, I don't really want to look at this rash. So I wore long pants and I wore long sleeves. I mean, thankfully, like, it was kind of chilly anyway, so I wasn't super hot. But I developed a very red, swollen left eye. And one night, I think it was like the last night of our camping trip, I slept super, super hard, and I woke up with, I actually couldn't even open my left eye. It was very crusty, and there was like lots of pus, and it was gross, and it really hurt, and it was super swollen. And I didn't realize until I got home that it was related to me not wanting to look at my own rash, which is just like super crazy, that by me assigning this meaning of I don't want to look at my skin, I don't want to look at my rash, I don't want to see it. And I couldn't not see it because I have to get dressed, I have to put on clothes, and I am in my body, so I can't not see it in a sense. And so the left eye is actually related to not wanting to see a visual morsel, which in my case was my skin rash. And so I actually experienced this healing crisis with the super crusty eye and all the pus. And so that was my healing crisis for that. And then the next night I got home and I just slept a bunch and I had resolved it. And I don't really get, like, that's not a very normal thing for me to get in terms of like eye swelling and stuff. But it was just like really interesting to notice how I basically like caused my eye to go through that conflict and then heal it and all of this, because I didn't want to look at my skin rash, which was from a different conflict that I had resolved the week before. So it's just fascinating to like put those together. And anyway, yes. So this second biological law is the law of two phases. And so one other thing I wanted to mention is that the law of two phases is only the law of two phases if you heal the conflict. Otherwise, you stay in what's called the hanging conflict mode, or you stay in conflict active mode for however long until you heal it. And so what I want to do with this group is really bring more awareness and attention to our patterns and habits of what we're doing already in our bodies and in our minds, and how that's all just fully connected, way more than we give ourselves credit for. And so next week, Tuesday or possibly Monday next week, I'll give you guys some more warning than I did this time. I'll be going over the third biological law, so I'll talk more about that next week. And I just wanted to thank you so much for joining me today. And I am also offering one-on-one coaching, so if that's something that you're interested in, it's called Awareness Alchemy. So I will be helping guide you through healing your own individual conflicts and going through the principles of German New Medicine to heal your body, and so that you don't keep experiencing these painful and uncomfortable symptoms. And so please comment yes below the video or private message me at Alchemy with Ashley. And I am looking forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much. Have a lovely Tuesday. And thank you so much for watching the replay. If you're watching the replay, thank you again. Leave your comments, questions below. And like I said, you can private message me. And if you're interested in one-on-one coaching, I look forward to talking with you about that. So thank you so much. Bye.